Hello, good evening, and welcome to Prep Huddle Live on StrivSports.com. I'm Taylor Siebert, and you're joining us for week number 7 of our live Nebraska Sports Prep show here covering our Striv schools. And I'm joined by Tony Chapman, our lead sports writer on StrivSports.com. How you doing, Tony?
Good to be with you again. We've made it. Lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7 is right. We've got a great show planned for you. I've been traveling around with state events this week. Went down up to Columbus and Lincoln for state girls golf, and JC and I were at state softball. My first state softball experience. Great atmosphere there today, and wonderful facility and great weather. So caught some softball, and we got some highlights of that. And I know Tony will touch on that and some of the girls state golf and maybe some boys tennis. Throughout the show, we'll be announcing our game of the week, our star of the week, and we'll be joined by one of the coaches for our game of the week later on in the show via Google Hangouts. So don't go away. We've got a great show planned for you. And we're going to dive right into last week, our game of the week, which was at Grand Island Northwest as they took on the York Dukes, and the York Dukes won that game 23-14. And JC is going to roll some highlights here, Tony, and I'll let you kind of recap that game from last week.
All right, thanks, Taylor. Well, yeah, it was a kind of as expected football game, I guess. If York was going to be on the winning side, they were able to keep it a game that didn't get into the 30s, which I think is probably what Coach Snodgrass would have asked for going into the game, and they were really able to limit Grand Island Northwest's offense. And that was able to allow them to kind of take control of the game in the second half. So we had a really good football game in the first half. Actually, Grand Island Northwest took the halftime lead. They were up 14-13 at halftime. They saw York march down the field on their first 2 drives and score, and we thought maybe we were in for possible blowout. York was playing really well. They were running the ball effectively, mixing in a nice passing game. And Jonah Adi, their kind of workhorse running back and linebacker, was doing some good things for him there, and he scored on 6 and 1 yard runs in the first quarter. But then all of a sudden, Grand Island Northwest kind of got a spark. They had Ryan Gill block the extra point on York's second touchdown, and then that kind of lit a fire in them in the second quarter, and they had a really nice drive to start the second quarter. Christian Ellsworth connected with Taylor Willis on a 4-yard touchdown pass, about 6 minutes left in the half, and that got it to 13-7. And then on York's next possession, they kind of got behind the chains a little bit, were forced to punt, and Gill then broke through and blocked a punt of York's and picked it up and returned it all the way down to about the 8-yard line. And then Northwest went in with a Brooke Brown 2-yard touchdown run to take that halftime lead at 14-13. And then Northwest did exactly what they wanted to do to start the second half. They got a stop. They forced York to punt. York was able to pin them deep. They got them at about the 10-yard line. And Northwest was unable to convert a short third down, and then J.J. Schultz from York returned the favor on the block punt. He blocked Brooke Brown's punt. York took over on the 5. Northwest held, but Coach Snodgrass opted for a short field goal from their freshman kicker, Joel Luther, gave them a 16-14 lead. And then after Northwest, they had a chance to come back and take the lead. They drove all the way to York's 40, but had a 4th and 2 pass play that fell short, and then York just turned around and put together a 15-play, 59-yard drive that ate up about a little over 7 minutes. They converted on third down 5 times. It seemed like they had 3rd and 2 or 3, 4 or 5 times in there. And in the second half, they were riding sophomore Alex Kowalski. Odie got hurt late in the first half. Kowalski carries the ball 23 times in the second half, 24 in all, and he just kind of guards at a pop. And York was always just kind of a little bit ahead of the chains, and they get that touchdown to go up 23-14, and it really allowed Northwest. They're kind of built on timing. They have a great offense, and they weren't really ever to get any momentum going. York holds them to 229 yards on 58 total plays, so they really only had about 4 yards of play. And then again, they were able to control the clock and play pretty good defense. So it was, as we suspected, a really close game that came down to just a few big plays. And both teams really have big games again this week. We'll talk about both of them a little bit later on as we preview this week. But that district, again, is still a district where even at 3-4, Northwest still kind of has an outside chance if they can win their last 2 games to get in the playoffs. So a lot of important football still left to be played with 2 weeks left in the regular season.
Yeah, well, Tony will definitely be keeping an eye on that district, as you noted last week, which now that's changed. But I think, what did you say, one of only 2 districts in the state that had teams above records above 500, I believe, right?
That's correct. Yeah, every team winning a district play at 500 or better. So, again, they're all still alive, and even though Aurora and Northwest lost those first 2 district games, they still have a lot to play for and a chance to really, they can really still have a chance to get into the playoffs. So,
all right, thank you, Tony, and we look forward to announcing our game of the week later in the show here on Friday. But let's transition over to girls state softball, which opened up today, and lots of scores. We had 4 schools participating at state softball in Hastings. That was in Class C. Central City took on Wayne in the first round, and then York and McCook in Class B, and Millard West in Class A. And I'll let Tony go ahead and give you an update on all the scores there, and you can see some photos here in the background that we caught of the York and McCook game. Unfortunately, I had a backup hard drive go down on me, so we are trying to recover the Millard West photos. So, but some great games. Unfortunately, our Striv schools struggle a little bit in their first games. And Tony, I'll let you kind of give a little score update there on those.
Sure. Well, yeah, we in Class A, we'll just start there. Millard West opened the tournament playing Papillion La Vista South, I believe, and they were down for most of that game, actually, and they ended up tying the game at 3 before losing 4-3, and then the same exact thing to them happens in the losers bracket game. At 4:30, they had a 4-3 loss also to Millard North. So 6 teams still alive in Class A. You have Lincoln Southwest and Millard North in the losers bracket, and then Papillion La Vista South, Omaha Marion, and Millard South then on top on the winners bracket. So there. Drop down, I'll just go to Class C because we actually have Class B still playing right now. We'll try to update some of those scores as soon as I get through Class C. Of course, Central City, they capped a great season today. They're going to show that they lost 11-2 to Wayne and 11-3 to Raymond Central. But the Bison end their first ever trip to the state softball tournament, so a lot to be proud of for Central City this year. Again, losing to Wayne, who's a perennial power, in the first round this morning, and then they lost to Raymond Central in the losers bracket game this afternoon. But again, nothing for those girls in Central City to be ashamed of. And I know my good friend Dale Miller from the Grand Island Independent did a nice little story on kind of 2 seniors that played for them this year. That was their first year out and kind of helped turn that around. So, and then again in Class B, we have York and McCook both playing in the state tournament there. McCook lost a 5-1 game to Elkhorn in the first round. And Elkhorn South have both kind of been 1 and 2 all season there, and picked by most of the newspaper folks to probably be in the finals of that class. So, they lose to Elkhorn 5-1, and then Gretna gets 3 late runs to beat York. Gretna, the 7 seed, York, the 2 seed. They get 3 late runs to beat York. 4-3 in the first round in Class B, and then they're playing in the losers bracket right now. McCook was up 4-0 early on Blair, but Blair looks like has scored 7 runs in the 3rd inning to take a 7-3 lead right now in the bottom of the third in that game, and it appears York is in control a little bit with Ralston here trying to keep their season alive. The Dukes are up 6-0 against Ralston right now in the third inning as well. So hopefully the Dukes can advance and live to play for Thursday. And you never know what happens in double elimination field. So if you can get hot, there's no reason to quit playing. So good season for all four of these teams though that have got into state softball, and we're happy to kind of get down there and cover them and feature them today.
All right, thank you, Tony. I apologize, I switched up our order. We had girls state golf next, so we'll transition over to that, which took place on Monday and Tuesday this week. Class A was up in Norfolk, and Class B was in Lincoln at Pioneers, and Class C up in Columbus at Quail Run. And I had the chance to go see some of the girls for day 2 tee off in Class B at Pioneers, and the wind was still howling on yesterday. And then headed up to Columbus to Quail Run, and what a beautiful course that is. I'd never been up there, but Tony, why don't you give us a quick little recap of both days and how our Striv schools did as a team, and some of the individuals who did quite well.
Yeah, so we had, just recount them, 5 teams qualify. 3 in B, we had Northwest, Aurora, and Crete qualify as a team in B, and then Dundee County, Stratton, and Cozad qualified in Class C. And as you mentioned, battled some tough conditions, really, I think, at all 3 locations on Monday, Taylor. It was still really kind of cleared out here in Grand Island about mid-morning to noon, but I don't think it really ever cleared out at any of those courses on Monday. We had cloudy, kind of cool, wet conditions from kind of some rains on Sunday, and they might have even played in a little bit of rain at some of those courses on Monday, and then a fairly nice day yesterday. But again, as you said, they battled a lot of wind, as well. So we ended up with from the Striv schools, we had 9 golfers earn medals. In Class A, Emily Jasuski, sorry Emily if I butchered your last name there, but she finished 8th in Class A. Omaha Burke sophomore Nia Station was the champion there, and then Elkhorn South won the team title. And then over at Pioneers in Lincoln, we had Casey Samway and Murphy Sears. Casey from McCook and Murphy from Crete tied for 11th. They'll both return next year. Casey a sophomore and Murphy's a junior. And then Northwest senior Megan Canfield was 14th, and then Aurora senior Kristen Bell tied for 15th. And in the team race there, Scotts Bluff won the team title with a 752 score, and the Bearcats Jordan York from Scotts Bluff as well. She medaled with was the winner with a 159, impressive 159 total for 2 days there. And Northwest was 5th in the team race. Aurora was 7th, and Crete was 10th. So 3 top 10 finishes for our Striv schools there. And then over in Columbus at Quail Run, and agree with you, Taylor, that's a really neat golf course, kind of right down there by the river, and some really cool holes there on the, I guess, kind of more on the south end of the golf course. But we had, I believe we had 4 medal winners in Class C. Donovan Trumbull's Brandy Lemick. She's a junior. She was actually tied for the lead with Morgan Teal from Kearney Catholic headed to the last hole, and Teal made par to Lemick's double bogey, and Teal wins there by 2 shots. Boone Central's Melissa Kinsel is 4th, and Heartland's Paige Messel is 5th. So 3 top 5 finishers from Striv schools there in Class C. And then Rebecca Lorenz from Dundee County Stratton earned a medal by placing 14th. And the Tigers in the team race, I believe, were 7th. And they were 1 shot ahead of Cozad, who finished 8th. And in the team race there, Minden won their 2nd consecutive title with a team score of 750. So successful state girls golf, a lot of good golf seasons from a lot of our golfers at our schools. And as you said, we've got kind of a photo gallery there of state golf, and fun to go feature them and show them here the last few days at their state meet.
Yeah, and you can, like Tony said, you can go on to strivsports.com and check out some of the photos, majority of them from Class C's, where I spent following Paige Mestel from Heartland here in Henderson. and she ended her 4-year career, 4 years going to state with a top 5 finish, finishing 5th. So proud of her, and it's fun to see her career grow there here at Heartland. All right, let's move on, and we're just going to touch quickly on just kind of go over some volleyball rankings, and we'll spend a lot of time this next week after now girls state golf is done and girls softball will wrap up. We'll spend a lot more time on some volleyball action. But Tony, why don't you go ahead and give us a rundown, just kind of the rankings thus far as conference tournament play begins here for several of our schools.
Yep, we'll hit conference tournament. I know the Central 10 will be in Aurora this weekend, and I think Crossroads Conference will be next weekend, or next week, really, basically. So a lot of conference tournaments hitting, and then we'll hit, that kind of Monday or Tuesday, 1st of November, will be district play starting up. So, yeah, really quick, Millard West, 19-3, they're fourth. They're fourth in Class A. And then in Class B, that's really been unchanged for quite a long time, actually. Omaha Scott still first, Grand Island Northwest, and Aurora still sitting at 8th and 9th there. And nobody still in C1 is ranked. Sutton is still 8th in Class C2, as well as Nebraska Christian is 10th there. And 2 undefeated teams still in C2. Freeman's 20-0 and Crofton is 17-0. So this late in the season to still be undefeated is doing things pretty well. Same in D1. O'Neill St. Mary's and Angeli Litchfield are 18-0 and 20-0 respectively. They're first and second. And Creighton is ranked 7th in Class D1. And then just a little bit of shakeup in D2. Meridian enters the rankings at 4th. They knocked off Hampton in a triangular last week. Hampton is 5th, and Johnson Brock is 6th, and Exeter Milligan is 7th, up from 10th last week. So shapes up for a pretty exciting Crossroads Conference tournament next week. Taylor with Giltner and Meridian and Hampton. Giltner's 3rd, defending state champs at 17-2. They're 3rd, but Hampton has actually gave them their 2 losses. So those 3 schools, along with Exeter Milligan, should shape up for a pretty fun CRC tournament. I believe that'll get underway early next week, if I'm not mistaken. So, really quick on the volleyball there. And as you said, we'll wrap up softball this week. We'll probably preview state cross country next week and get heavier into volleyball here in week 8 of the show next week. So,
yeah, and speaking of the CRC tournament, I was talking to Ken Cush from York News Times today, and he told me that they've extended that tournament now. Everyone's guaranteed 3 games. So I don't know if they added a day or more times there, and I think it starts Saturday, Tony, if I'm not mistaken, and it goes Monday, Tuesday. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll have all the coverage of that, and hopefully try to pop over there and get some photos of that tournament as well. Is that always a great tournament, and several of our schools are in that conference, so look forward to that. All right, let's transition now into our football rankings, and we'll do a quick run through of those and some previews of some upcoming games here on Friday.
All right, I'll try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and do it together, Taylor. So Omaha Central is still 6th in Class A. They're 5-2. And Millard West is 10th at 4-3. A big game for them this week that I think will be on their Striv channel, Taylor. They will host Kearney, and that'll be a game that probably will earn somebody a playoff spot as being a top 3 team in that Class A district there with just 2 weeks left. So that'll be a big game as the Bearcats travel west to play Millard West, or travel east to play Millard West at Buell Stadium. So Class B, still those 4 teams in that Gretna district are 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the undefeateds will play this week. It's kind of a non-Striv game, but 7-0 Gretna, 7-0 Elkhorn will face off this week, and Scott and Elkhorn South, who both lost then last week, will play each other, and one of those 2 teams will be 0-2 in district play. Right behind them is McCook at 6-1. Again, their only loss is to Aurora, and I would suspect that they'll head into the playoffs 8-1 with their district games that they have left. Seward is 6th. They'll play a big district game with Striv School of York, who is not ranked at 5-2. And the winner there really has a leg up in that district. The winner of that game will be 2-0 in district play and have the inside advantage to the district championship there. And then Crete is back in the rankings after beating Beatrice 28-14 last week, and they will have a game with the other undefeated district team in their district, Lincoln Pius, on Friday. So that'll be a game that also will give someone a leg up into the district championship there. We continue with Boone Central and Boone Central Newman Grove in C1, and they're again still on that collision course for the last Friday, which would be actually next week, I guess, to play Norfolk Catholic for a district championship. Both teams 7-0 right now. Wilbur Claytonia is still fourth at 7-0. Cozad still sixth at 6-1. Syracuse is 5-2, having won 5 in a row. Kind of the real upset in that class last week was Grand Island Central Catholic upsetting number 4 Kearney Catholic, and they are 9th and 10th in the rankings this week. We'll move to C2. We have Sutton ranked in C2 at 7-0, and I'm really excited to be able to go watch the Mustangs this week. We'll be in the outfield at Sutton, and they'll be playing Hastings St. Cecilia, and it will be something else. So those two teams combined have given up 87 points all year, and both have scored nearly 300, 285 for St. Cecilia, 302 for Sutton. I suspect a game that's probably going to be in the low 20s, high teens, and be a real competitive football game, and I'm really anxious to watch Noah Johnson play for Sutton. Quickly then into D1, we had a little bit of an upset. Friends last play of the game to beat Bruning Davenport Shickley last week, and they are 6-0. Bruning Davenport Shickley 5-1. And Taylor, I mean, you know how much I like BDS earlier in the year, and I think they're a really good football team. So Friend must have their ducks in a row as well. So both of those teams scored in the last minute of that game. So BDS thought they had it won. Friend comes down, they score in the last play of the game with 3 seconds left to win 36-34. Fullerton let's go back up to the top. Creighton's 3-0, number 3, 6-0. Heartland, number 4, 6-0. Fullerton, number 6, 6-0. They will play number 9, Howells Dodge, tomorrow night in a game you can watch on Striv. Howells Dodge is 4-2. Their only 2 losses to number 2, Guardian Angels, and number 3, Creighton. And one that made me smile this week, Taylor, is High Plains is ranked at 3-3, and I think finally they're appreciating that early schedule where High Plains lost to Guardian Angels, Central Catholic in the first game. They beat Blue Hill in the second game. They lost then to Heartland and BDS early, and Blue Hill just went and beat undefeated Elm Creek last week, and that kind of turned some heads and got High Plains ranked. And then in D2, we have Exeter Milligan at 6-0. They had a big win over Fall City Sacred Heart, who was number 1 last week, and they dropped to 6th. So we're going to talk about that game a little bit more in a minute. And then a big 6-man game I think Taylor will be able to watch on Striv on Friday too is Riverside, which is Spalding and St. Edward, if I'm right there, I think. And they'll play Spalding Academy, number 1 versus number 3. Both of those teams 6-0 so far this year as well. So that's a quick run through on the football rankings there.
All right. Do you want to do your previews as well, Tony, or?
I think I hit them all, Taylor.
Perfect.
I'm gonna let's go into the star of the week. I suppose the only one I would have missed is district championship game that you can watch on Striv. On Friday will be Fillmore Central, who's having one of their best years in the decade probably, at 5-2. They'll host 7-0 Malcolm, and that'll be basically the winner of that game will be the district champion in a C2 district there. But I think we hit everything else we wanted to cover. So
perfect. All right. Well, let's transition then to our star of the week, and then we'll take a quick break, and then we'll be ready to announce our game of the week this Friday and do a quick interview with one of the coaches who will be joining us via Google Hangouts. So, Tony, I know we went back and forth on the star of the week, and I think we finally settled on one. We were hoping to do a softball star of the week. Just didn't work out with some of the teams losing, but I know you selected this young gentleman from Exeter Milligan, I believe Mr. Jensen, right?
Yeah, Kyle Jensen. We're going to go with Kyle Jensen this week. Kyle had 225 yards rushing in Exeter Milligan's 46-20 win last week over Sacred Heart. Again, that was a unique matchup in that they were both defending 8-man champions, Exeter Milligan in D1 and Falls City Sacred Heart in D2 last year, but both are in D2 this year. Kyle had 225 yards rushing, and he also returned the opening kickoff of the second half, 71 yards for a touchdown, which really set the tone. Exeter Milligan was down 20-16 at the half, and then that kickoff return sparked a second half where they outscored Falls City Sacred Heart 30-0. And in that second half, Jensen had a 71-yard kickoff return, and then he had a 64-yard run and a 1-yard run. So 4 total touchdowns for Kyle last week, and the Timberwolves are they kind of have turned into reload mode. They really just reload every year, and it seems like they're doing kind of the same thing they did last year. Got a nice running game, and Coach Philippi does a good job with that bunch down there, and hopefully we can watch them a few times in the playoffs this year. So,
all right, congratulations, Kyle, being our Striv Star of the week this week. And with that, we'll take a quick little break and hear from our sponsor, Cornerstone Bank, and want to thank them for being our sponsor here on StrivSports.com as well as on Striv.tv, and also our sponsor, Runner Fab. If you're in need of some new stadium seating or portable seating at your school, you can give them a call. Their ad is up on top of the website, rotating with Cornerstone Bank's ad. And so we'll take a quick 30-second break, announce our game of the week, and talk with one of the coaches of one of those teams here in just a bit. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I get it. For the little things. Technology's great. It makes things easier. It's faster. We can get things done wherever we go. And we get all that from our bank. It works for us. But for the bigger things, the things that really count, I still want to talk to the people I know and trust. That's why I'm here.
Okay.
All right, and we are back here. Thanks again for tuning in here on Prep Huddle Live on StrivSports.com. Again, you can use the hashtag. I don't think I've mentioned that. You can use the hashtag Prep Huddle Live to tweet us and provide any feedback and let us know where you're watching from. We would appreciate that. So, all right, it is that time of the show for our announcement of our game of the week this week, which will be heading to Syracuse, Nebraska. We're excited to be hosting our game of the week as Syracuse will be taking on Falls City in Syracuse, and we're excited to have the head coach of the Syracuse Rockets be joining us via Google Hangouts, Rick Nordhues. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and I'll hand it over here to Tony. Talk about this week's game against Falls City.
All right, thanks, Taylor. Coach, thanks for being on with us. Obviously, this is a big game for you. I guess I just wanted to first have you talk about the season. You guys have won 5 in a row, and it looks like done it with defense after a really tough start with 2 really good programs in Ashland Greenwood and Bishop Neumann. Talk about how your guys have responded and since that start and how you're playing right now.
Well, looking at the season, we knew that we were going to start with a couple of tough teams, and we felt like we kind of let one slip away up at Bishop Neumann, holding the lead until the last play of the game. We made some mistakes. We had a few inexperienced guys. I don't want to say really young, mostly juniors and seniors. We had a couple sophomores on the field, but we just made a couple mistakes here and there and let that one slip away. And we talked about Ashland, coming in. We knew they were going to be very solid. We saw all the kids that they had coming back. And they found a heck of a quarterback. They lost Garner last year, and then they find this kid here that's just he hurt us. He hurt us. To be quite honest with you, their receivers are really good. They got 2 top receivers in the state, and we were in position, but they took the ball from us. 3 times they took the ball from us, and they beat us 28-13. So walking away, we felt like we played great defense up front, and that's kind of what we've been doing. So we just challenge guys, we got to get better. Playoffs are still in the makings. We just got to win the district. and we've got ourselves in position to do that now. I feel like we are getting better. The guys have had a great attitude. They know that this game is big and that we need a win here to get in the playoffs. So we've had a good week of practice, and no, it's been another fun year. Anytime that you can be in the hunt for a district title at the end, that's what you want. And we talk about it to the guys. This is why football is fun. This is why high school football is fun, because we can be in the hunt here at the end, and this is a big game, so it'll be a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, introduce us to your guys a little bit. Who's kind of playing well for us, and again, as I mentioned, it appears after those first two games, you guys have, I think, allowed 23 points total. So you've got to be happy with how your defense has been playing in this 5-game win streak.
Most definitely. I think we have to start with Matt Clark and Will Niels. They play our defensive ends, and Matt. He's getting a lot of D1 attention right now. He's a special athlete. He's got some offers. So we got Will on the other side, and I think teams kind of want to run away from Matt. And Will is having a heck of a year. He's got, I think, 5 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. He's just doing an outstanding job. And then right in the middle, we got Connor Cameron, our middle linebacker. Connor put about 15 pounds on from last year. He started last year as a sophomore, and he's a plugger. And what happens is now we've got the ability to shove everything outside. Teams are not able to run between the tackles, and we got some guys outside that can run and tackle. Mitch McWilliams has come on. We started him 2 weeks ago, and he's got a couple sacks, forced some turnovers. He's a sophomore, and he's playing like a senior right now. He's playing with confidence. So we've got a lot of guys that are playing well. Logan Teaton's playing well on the defensive line. Ty Snyder is one of our senior linebackers. He started for us last year, so we've got some good experience there. We knew coming in that our secondary was going to be inexperienced. We lost all but one, and then Trey went down in the Wahoo game. He was probably our best returning corner. We had him as our shutdown corner last year. We'd always put him on the best receiver, and he did a heck of a job. And he twisted his knee up and tore his ACL against Wahoo. So we've had to recover from that. He was also our leading rusher. He had 200 yards rushing against Newman earlier in the year, and he was averaging 132 yards a game. So we've been replacing him on offense by committee. I think we've had a different guy with over 100 yards rushing ever since he's been out, which is good. You know, we've got some kids. We've got a little depth. We're building depth, so that's good for our team.
Great. I guess talk about, Fall City's a team that had a good season last year, and obviously they're 6-1 this year. What are you expecting from the Tigers this week as far as things that concern you coming into this game?
Well, they're very aggressive on defense. I mean, they like to get after it. They're going to come after us. Last year we really struggled trying to throw the ball. We just couldn't get time. And then we were able to run the ball pretty well. We caught them on some traps, and we had some big plays from our fullback, and we were able to hold them on defense. Our defense won that game for us because they were a big play offense, and they are again this year because they've got some really good quality running backs back. They got almost their entire offensive line back. They are a big play offense, and those guys, they got 3 guys. If they break containment on us, I'm thinking they're gone. They got that kind of speed with Jordy Stoller. He's been a starter since he was a freshman. I'm glad he's finally going to graduate, to be quite honest with you. The Heckenlively kid's been running very well, and the Hartman. They got 3 guys there that can go the distance, and they're big up front. I want to say they're probably averaging 220 maybe on the offensive line. That's average. So they're deadly offensively. They're deadly with special teams, and they're going to be very aggressive on defense. So we're going to have our work cut out for us.
And I guess, we chatted just briefly earlier with the change in the playoff format this year where you're playing 9 regular season games, but only 16 teams make the playoffs. This almost has the feel of that kind of first round, almost play-in type game into the playoffs, doesn't it? Do you kind of get that sense as well?
Yeah, we do. The coaches, we knew this. We never said anything to kids, but they're already talking about it. They're no dummies. After our game last Friday, they said right in the huddle on the field, playoffs start next week, guys. They knew it. They saw the points where we're at. We're not in the top 16 wild card points, and I fear that if we lose this game, we won't go up enough to get in there. We'll win it. If we win this game, we think we can win the district because of head-to-head, etc. Whether we lose or win against Auburn, obviously you want to win out. But I think if we stumble one of these weeks, I don't think we're going to get the wild card points we need. So it is kind of like a playoff game. We got a lot of guys that played last year, and they were in some big games down there at Fall City. We went down there and won that game. They're a good team that we beat down there. And the Lincoln Christian game was huge for us. So we've got a lot of kids that have been in big games. So I feel like we're going to be okay in terms of mental toughness.
Well, good. Well, Coach, thanks for joining us. I know Taylor's going to be down there, and we're excited to have the game on Striv, that your school will be broadcasting the game, and we look forward to hopefully having Taylor catch up with you after the game as well. So thanks for joining us and being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate you taking the time out on your Wednesday evening joining us. And we are really looking forward to having this as our game of the week on Friday. Great to talk with you and learn a little bit more about your team and this season. So thank you again. All right, just a quick update checking Twitter here, and then we'll close things up. Tony, it looks like York is leading over Ralston in girls state softball 8-2 at the end of the fifth. And McCook was trailing Blair in the mid-fourth. See if we can get that.
Yeah, I'm seeing 10-4. Taylor, does that sound right?
Say that again.
I was seeing 10-4 here on the NSA
Yeah,
website.
that would be right. I have 4-9 mid-fourth. So we'll keep you posted. You can follow us on Twitter at Striv Sports, and we'll keep you posted on all those scores. And we will see you right here next week. And we'll post the recording of this as well if you, for those of you that missed this live. So thank you and have a good night.